Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Web3 and Healthcare Company Showcase. I'm Jonathan Fuchs. I'm a member of the Patient Tory Association Board, and I'm going to be hosting and introducing our speakers today. We're about to embark on a journey into the future of healthcare, and today we gather to explore groundbreaking innovations, disruptive technologies, and transformative ideas that are redefining the essence of healthcare in the age of Web3. The traditional barriers of healthcare are fading away, and we're here to highlight the pioneers who are leading the way in that effort. So without further ado, apart from welcoming everybody, let's get started. Our first speaker is Rama Rao, who's founder and CEO of Bloqcube. He is an entrepreneur who is passionate about developing solutions to accelerate clinical trials, with 28 years experience in the pharma industry, and in particular interest in facilitating decentralized clinical trials for biopharmas. So he holds a number of MBAs, and he's a delight to listen to and very knowledgeable about this space. So let's welcome Rama Rao, CEO and co-founder of Bloqcube. Rama, it's on to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate that. I'm going to be sharing my screen and slides. So I'm going to disconnect you, connect myself, and hopefully you can see my screen. Good to go. Yeah. Let's get to a presentation mode. Well,
there you go.
Perfect. Perfect. So Bloqcube, I'm Rama, the CEO. We're a fully decentralized clinical trial management system based out of New Jersey. And we are laying the foundational rails for a Web 3.0 platform for the democratization and ownership of clinical trial data. Now, today, here are two pictures. Please tell me whether such people can truly participate in decentralized clinical trials and own their clinical data. These are pictures taken in southern India and rural India using our system a year before COVID struck. So the question we want to ask is, how do we transform 45 million folks who do clinical trials, give or take some millions, who don't own their data, to over possibly 6-7 billion people with democratized ownership? Our approach has been that first, let's demonstrate our foundational rails. And that is how we built a truly decentralized clinical trial management system. We also built a supply chain model that I'll talk about later. And then we've got some other pillars that are in a stealth mode, which will then lay the foundational rails to allow us to get to this point. And when you get to that point, we hope to have, say, $5, $6, $8 billion, not healthcare consumers, but healthcare producers. Our approach has been very narrow. We want to work in the clinical trials operation space, because this space of drug development, which spends almost $100 billion every year, is pretty huge. And we think that this is an area that has 3 or 4 major pain points and inefficiencies. One is, these are all rear-view driven. There are operational inadequacies. And because of the lack of real-time data, this current shift to hybrid and decentralized trials, which is a misnomer in the blockchain sense, but is accurate in the industry sense, where trials are done at patients' homes or sites, is a challenge. In addition, we've got data integrity challenges, and even more, especially in the US, it takes almost 4 to 5 months to pay a site, a patient, a doctor who've done the basic trial. So our approach has been that we built a clinical trial software system. And because of this audience, I'm mentioning it's a blockchain anchored. But very frankly, when you're a user of the system, you only care the benefits. So our benefits are being delivered using an iPad and a smartphone today. It's in the cloud to be totally decentralized. And unlike any of our competitors, we are linked and anchored with a blockchain smart contract driven solutions. This is basically helping us, get real-time data. We also have lesser vulnerability to ransomware attacks. And our business focus is small and mid-sized biotech companies and CROs. So how do we work this? We've got basically four persona customers in the sequence. They're the sponsors who are building a trial and they've got all the regulatory challenges. They're the site administrators who are trying to put all the dossiers and paper together. Then there are the physician investigators who are concerned about, they will be audited and it's their reputation on the line. And of course, in order to see that these batch processes work right, we've got governance coming through individual monitors. And these clinical trial monitors have a very rough job. If you were to just do a check on Glassdoor and type in that clinical trial monitor, you'll see the stories of woe that we have. So these are screens taken from our implementation recently, where we handed over the system in Q2 to one of our customers. And each of these guys had a screen which basically helped them build the whole structure together. Now, in the interest of time, I won't run our demo, but all I would say is that our website has a demo also. And we recognize we are amongst the pioneers of applying blockchain to clinical trial software systems. Now, in addition, as sites have become in patients' houses, we also tackle the issue of supply chain management in this area. So with an IoT tracker associated with the shipment of clinical trials, investigational drugs, or kit chain as it's popularly called, we can track in real time the location of the product or package and the temperature, humidity, light, and shock. And even for that matter, if somebody decides to steal an expensive oncology drug, we know where it goes to through this tracker. The provenancing is taking place with a blockchain certification. And as most of the audience will know, that blockchain in supply chain is one of the most advanced use cases. It's just the far more complex and bringing it for the clinical trial material where there is a high degree of wasted and challenges. Our journey so far has been rocky, given 2 years of COVID. But in this 4 years, we really built a sophisticated B2B system. We have now executed commercial orders. We're now getting the flywheel going for customer acquisition. And we're already in the process of building a Web3 version. And it will be ready by January, but it's actually getting ready in this quarter. For the investors in the audience, I'd like to point out that this is a fairly significant market where the TAM is about 10 billion and growing at 13%. But we are being very judicious and laser focused to get to a 50 million sales in about 5 years. If you look at some of our big competitors, they have gone to 70 million in 5 years. So we hope with the way in which we get our investors on board, we can also aim for that. From a sales funnel standpoint, we've got about 30 in our pipeline, but the core that we are looking at is approximately 20. We've delivered on 3. We've got 3 MOUs signed over here, and I can't share who's got a discovery interest, but we had people asking us to use our system and code for it from anything from 100 patients to 9,000 patients in a study. And those discussions are going on. To monetize this, at this stage, we are trying to do low-cost POCs and basically licensing our system and move to a SaaS. We thought we'd move to a SaaS maybe in about a year's time, but with the dimensions of the market and the speed with which our web development is coming, we hope to launch a SaaS service by early next year. Now, you might ask, well, there are just so many competitors, how do you fit in with that equation? And the first thing we'd say is that we fit in very well. We have for the table stakes doing what everybody does. But in addition, uniquely, we have a financial module that covers multiple activities, which specific services or companies like Greenfire actually do. In addition, given that we are anchored with a blockchain and a smart contract, we know we can trip and change it to a central bank digital currency or a stable coin pretty fast. In addition, we've got the supply chain module, and that is what is our competitive moat and basically gives us a dimension which CB Insights, which did a vendor evaluation after we did a vendor pitch to them, suggested that we have a technological lead of two of the biggest competitors, Bankable and Science 37, which, by the way, have raised over $500 million during COVID. Even more, what my team and I are thrilled about is Pre-Gallon, which is considered to be the Pharma Nobel Prize for Product Innovation, selected us for 2 years in a row as one of the best startups. We are in the August company like Patientori. Patientori is streets ahead in the corporate category, and we are competing in the best startups. And we're the only clinical trial software company in the list of about 20 or 30 companies. So why now? First is that the regulations have been changing. The FDA is about to issue full guidelines. The draft were issued 2 months back. We've been recognized as having a sophisticated innovation, and we've also validated our product market fit. And the other thing is that decentralized clinical trials are gaining momentum. This is a busy slide, but the fundamental takeaway message from this, and this has been done by a leading CRO, PPD, and they're basically talking about how e-clinical systems, digitalization, and different aspects of decentralized trials are coming together. We're also thrilled to share that the USPTO recognized our trademark with effective date of December 2019, which is when our first system went into play, but it approved it 2-3 years later after a huge series of tests. And that gives us, I guess, to some degree, bragging rights of being the first or amongst the first over there. The challenge in our industry is there are a very narrow slice of proteins. So if I were to take why are we getting into a Web3 kind of category? And the question is that there's a lady called Henrietta Lack, and there's a family called the Greenbergs. They did not get a fair deal. In the case of Henrietta Lack, in the 50s, they extracted her cervical cancer cells and then built a number of drugs to handle it. And they did not get any compensation for it until a few months back with their state file. And similarly with Don and Debbie Greenberg, their children had a rare disease, but that disease got patented by somebody else. So the only solution is we've got to get some form of data ownership, digital asset solutions to give ease of access to a larger group of people. And even today, during COVID especially, the fact is that the systems and processes are fully centralized for all these people. And in COVID time, the blood samples were being sold at exorbitant rate by intermediaries. Our approach would be, and this is, we've developed a white paper and we'll be launching it sometime next year, is that we'd get to a tokenization process using a hybrid token where we cover the security part and the utility part. And then we also need to decide how to go about this. While we are in early stages, we believe that if you want to run the New York Marathon, you need to show that you can at least run 100 yards or 200 yards or 400 yards or 1 mile. And that's what we're trying to do. And then we'll quickly transition for the longer journey. And this is being driven both by the strength of our background, but even more, I stand on the shoulders of some very smart, bright domain experts who are helping us in the journey, and a very talented technical team. We are in the business of raising a seed round, and we are trying to get to 3 million to get to 1 million plus ARR. And if there's anybody in the investors community in the audience, please contact me offline, because our transformational vision is to use Web3 to transform 45 million people to maybe 6 to 8 billion healthcare producers moving forward. So people like you see on the right, whether they are in Africa, India, Latin America, Peru, or even in Louisiana, are participating fully in healthcare and their healthcare ownership. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rama. We did have one question, and I told the panelists we would wait till the end, but one question that came up was, how is this version different from the Web3 version?
The Web3 version for decentralized healthcare clinical trial data exists only with 1 or 2 companies. The way they've approached it is they've used their tokenization for genomic data. What we will be using it is for transactional clinical trial data. That is the critical difference. So we've got a growing community, which is not static, as well as it can be any clinical trials or any clinical study somebody does, especially because today real world evidence data are going to be even more powerful in getting regulatory approval.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to our next. Thank you. Excuse me. John, if you'll share your screen, and I'll introduce John Kamara, who's the founder of Afya Rekod and founder and CEO of Danian Labs. He's an experienced serial tech entrepreneur with a track record of successfully launching and growing companies in new markets across Europe, Latin America, Caribbean, Asia, and Africa. Excuse me. He's, as the CEO and co-founder of Danian Labs, he has a mission to actuate the tech revolution in Africa by investing in and building tech ventures, building smart technology capacity, launching tech tools to impact multiple sectors, and helping tech companies scale across the continent. He has a profound impact on the African tech ecosystem, empowering young entrepreneurs and helping to build sustainable businesses across the continent. John, it's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is John Kamara, and I'm the founder for Afya Rekod. Afya Rekod is basically what it says, health record in Swahili. So what we do is we're solving the problem of mobility of health data, the sovereign ownership of the data back to a patient in an immutable environment, and the use of the data for intelligence using artificial intelligence. That is the problem that we're solving in the continent. And this problem exists because it's a personal story that happened to me in 2019 when a friend of mine died because of the lack of mobility, or as people may call it, interoperability of health data from one health institution to the other, and the lack of any form of ownership of the data back to the patient, so that either if there is a situation of lack of interoperability, the patient can actually be the transmission. So what we started doing then was to see how do we change this narrative by putting the patient at the centerpiece of healthcare, because the only moving party in healthcare is a patient. Everything else is an institution, and institutions don't move. So when you build infrastructure around institutions, what we consistently see will happen, which is always trying to create interoperable layers for software. But when you create mobility around the moving party, you can actually move the data as a mobile ecosystem that allows, people to, as the people move, the data moves with them. And that's really the objective. And in that mobility of data, then you really are able to provide the sovereign ownership of the data back to the original owner, which is the patient, for them to be part of that healthcare ecosystem, which definitely means we're able to achieve, a structured data layer, because that is our ultimate goal, to have the most structured data layer of healthcare data across multiple different parts of the health ecosystem. So, and we apply blockchain technology really to make sure that the data is immutable. That is the key reason why we use blockchain, because because healthcare data is very sensitive, and especially if it's coming from a single node of truth, which we call the hospital, the doctor, the pharmacy, the diagnostic center, all these different players, then that data has to be immutable and it can't be changed, so that when it's transferred, it is in its true natural form for that data to be used by the next practitioner, to provide better quality healthcare, but also as we use that for artificial intelligence as well and other access value, that data also has integrity as well. And as we then continue, we're able to tokenize that data later on to allow patients access value from their health data within a network. So they can either access insurance, they can access trials, they can access other types of services, or even use the same data value to actually trade off for cost of medication or cost of treatment, especially in emerging markets. And ultimately, we can then use the same data to create personalized AI solutions that help patients, but also help the infrastructure, which is the doctors and everyone else. And as you can see, over 950 million people in the continent have zero access to their health data. So talking about Africa specifically, and the quality of data, there is no quality of data. And back to the original problem, over 33% of people died because of misdiagnosis or mistreated because of lack of data. There is no mobility or true version of that data as you go through, even within a state, within a country, and even cross-border. And obviously over, 1 out of every 5 people basically, has instant data to provide, better care facilities. So these numbers are quite staggering, especially when we started solving the problem in 2020 and the total market size as well. So what we do, we build our platforms. We build multiple platforms because we're building an infrastructure layer. And in building the infrastructure layer, we have to build multiple platforms because we have to look at building around the patient. So we focus on where are the places that the patient goes to engage in healthcare. It's not only the hospital. So the hospital is one in Africa. The pharmacy is a big part of that. 70% of people access their first level of healthcare with a pharmacy or the one-man doctor practices. We also have diagnostic centers, insurance providers. People also go to self-care services as well. So we started building infrastructure across all these different value chains, all focused around the patient. So the patient became the true movement within that network. And as you can see then, what we then build, because we were thinking about data from day one and how patients can use data, we started looking at how do we build, solutions that allow all the partners, all the actors in the network to use this platform to provide service for a patient. So one of the things that we also did in 2020 was build a disease mapping and a disease tracking platform focusing on a single node of truth, which is the hospital, because if you can process accurate data from the hospital, one of the things you could do, you could actually track pandemics. So we're one of the first health platforms in every hospital that basically has a geolocation tied to every piece of data and every location of the patient. So we create a triangle for the movement of that data. So in real time, we can actually predict how many symptoms are happening in a city in one day, in an hour, in minutes, because all the accurate data is coming in from the hospital. They just use the system, but we've actually programmed it from day one to really become a big data platform that is now driven by AI. So as we then become, all of a sudden, we're now becoming a surveillance tool for governments to use in public healthcare, apart from actually managing healthcare infrastructure. For patients, we have a decentralized patient platform. This means that once a patient leaves a hospital that we power for the first time, the system will create that platform automatically. It would take a copy of your health data, put it in that platform, and you continue your journey. Now, the difference between that and most other patient platforms you find is that particular platform is decentralized. You're no longer tied to the hospital. You can actually take the platform. It has its own marketplace and it has other tools in it, and you can actually add your own doctor for another opinion. You can add your family. You can use it to go to other type of health institutions or even go collect other forms of health data. The other part of the health platform, the patient platform, is also the fact that you can actually enter that network by yourself. So that's not necessarily through the hospital. You can just go sign up on myrecord.com and curate all your health record by yourself if you're a much more savvy person in the healthcare network. And the day you do go to a hospital that has any of our infrastructure, the system will actually find you into your data is, and using a consensus network with a handshake, you will actually allow the hospital to see the health record you've collected. And when they finish with you, a copy of your health record goes there and you continue your journey. So if you go to Mexico the next day, you can join the Mexican doctor. Or if you go to Uganda, if you go to Ghana. So this basically means you're creating a decentralized health network that can also connect to any other type of health ecosystem. So you can connect it to Epic software, you can connect to InterSystems, it doesn't matter. And you can pull all that data and have this as your own personalized health passport. The market size in the continent, it's over the total market size is over $1.4 billion. And, our addressable market for us is about $3.6 billion. And we see ourselves taking 10 to 20% of that market because of the unique nature in which we are building an ecosystem play ourselves rather than just building for a hospital. The difference between us and most of our competitors, across the continent, one, we're truly built on the blockchain. So our system basically is one of the first health platforms in the whole continent that truly runs on the blockchain, especially in terms of data. We have the most structured data network. So we're actually building algorithms now on the structured data, unlike before, and we're able to use that structured data for different levels. And we also participate in different parts of the ecosystem tied to the patient, because we built all those products over the past 3 years that we've networked together, irrespective of where the person is coming from our ecosystem, and the security of our sharing model as well. But the decentralized patient platform is a very critical part, especially on the blockchain, that allows us to actually make sure the immutable nature of the data. And as we tokenize our ecosystem in the future to come, we're able to also unleash a lot of value for the patient back in that particular network. One of our key deep stack, if you see Moesha AI, so we, based on the way we built our platform, really thinking through data, we're also able to bring in climate data. We're able to bring in other forms of data, both internal and external, to really begin to map the journey of data of a patient, of a country, of an institution, but also of different types of diseases as well, and build, algorithms that allow us to do early stage detections and also create tools in terms for especially emerging markets where they can deploy to primary healthcare facilities. We've just built a diabetics tool for the past 9 months that it will be deployed to a lot of primary healthcare facilities. But the beauty of our platform is we can scale the platform or the network across multiple different geolocations. And a lot of what we're doing right now is also now integrating some of our first 2 AI models. So we have a combination of blockchain and AI as one of the first healthcare platforms able to achieve that in the continent at the minute. Our business model is a B2B and a B2C. We launched our first business model. We think like a fintech business, even though we're in healthcare, because of the barriers of entry, first of all, for a lot of health providers across the continent or health ecosystem, pharmacies, hospitals, clinics, nutritionists, all these different players. So we had to figure out a different way to provide that particular health, because what we believe is healthcare happens in the hospital, treatment happens in the hospital, healthcare happens at home. So until a patient comes and something happens, there is no transaction. So we look at it as a transaction. How does that transaction happen? Rather than remove the barrier of entry, we can then create transaction models for a lot of these organizations. And we're beginning, as we opened our revenue model this year, we started seeing an increase in revenue and a lot of more organizations taking up our platform. At the moment, we have over 450,000 users on our platform for the past 1.5 years. And we've just powered over 70 hospitals as we're coming out of our beta test and generating revenue. And we're also launching our first AI tool. And one of the significant things we did the past 2 months was also making our first migration into Europe, where we've just signed a deal with the Oslo University Teaching Hospital, which is one of the largest hospitals in Europe, to actually run our patient platform and some of the models within a very structured ecosystem in Europe, out of Africa as well. This is some of our key milestones that we've achieved. We raised in our financial model as well. What we're doing, we raised our seed funding in 2021, $2 million from US investors. We're now currently raising our Series A funding, and we believe that we are one of the few platforms that is truly building a data infrastructure across different layers, but tied to the patient. And, we've solved the first problem of building that infrastructure. We've solved the problem of seeing the data come together. Now we're looking to scale that in the markets we're in here in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and also with the 2 markets globally as well, that we're seeing a lot of patient opportunity within our network. And we're raising $10 million in our Series A round. We already, with some investors in the US who are committing to our round currently, and looking to see if we have other investors in the room as well who'll be interested in talking to us further as well. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That was very impressive. I have one question. Are you finding any impediments either in terms of interoperability with other systems? And secondly, the availability of technology down to the individual? How do, in terms of payment of handheld devices and smartphones. I don't know how that spread works in the continent, but are you finding that as an impediment or an opportunity?
Yeah, so I mean, the first question, when we started thinking, because we thought about the patient first, so we actually didn't build a software, we just built a bunch of tools. We have over 160 different tools. Each one of them is independent, so we can plug and play it into any network. So that is actually one of the things we're doing is partner with InterSystem, which is like one of the largest data platforms globally. So we're able to plug in any of our tools, but then tie to the patient platform that allows us to create mobile interoperability instead of interoperability, because we still use the same mobility framework. So our thought process in the beginning, our architecture of thinking was so different. We weren't building for an institution, we were building around the patient. So we built tools. So that's helped us quite a lot. And we're able to, if you call it interoperability or integration, we call it mobile interoperability because we're using the patient. And the second question is an opportunity for us because the way we build our network, we can go in at different angles. We can even go in at the pharmacy level where we have a loyalty e-prescription platform for pharmacy. So they bring patients into us and they give the patient a copy of their medication and we geolocate that medication. Now, Big Pharma is talking to us because for the first time, we can show you all the medication spread across a whole country that people are buying in real time. And the day the patient goes back to the hospital, the doctor will actually see all the medications you've been buying outside the hospital for the first time ever.
That's great. Thank you very much, John. Again, it was a very concise and impressive presentation. Very informative. Our next speaker is Gina Malak. And Gina, if you want to share your screen, if you need to do that. Gina is the co-founder and chief executive officer and chief technology officer of Correlate Health. She holds a doctorate degree in interoperability engineering with over 20 years experience as a digital health analyst, engineer, developer, project manager, and executive. So Gina, welcome. Good to see you.
Good seeing you too. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Krissa, and also the panelists. A pleasure to be here. I just want to make sure you still see my screen.
I see you.
Oh, you see me. Okay, let me go back and share.
There you go.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so we are Correlate Health, and we're using, we're empowering clinical trials and using AI integration with patient matching, as well as decentralized services as well. And our company, we're actually in the process of implementing this workflow with a pharmaceutical company. So we acquired our first customer. And with this workflow, I'm going to demonstrate how we are using AI as well as decentralized services to integrate with EHRs to do patient matching and matching those patients based on their health data and their clinical data to the clinical trial requirements and criteria, and completing that match and engaging the patient. So the problem statement with our client currently in this use case that we have, and we are implementers, we have our own proprietary workflow and services that underlining we are a implementation company, professional services. So what we identified with our client is that we are solving a problem. There's underrepresented population. We'll be able to satisfy those FDOR requirements when it comes to diversity and inclusion. We will also provide, the problem is also efficiency in clinical trial matching currently with the current, process with that. And then there's also many eligible patients that miss out on potential trials, and simply because they were not notified, they were not aware of the trials as well. So there's a lack of engagement. And so many patients miss out with the opportunity. And they're also not having enough education about clinical trials as well. And then there's a manual process and time consuming that is prone to errors as well, and which also increase costs and delay in trials as well. So what we're doing is, like I said, we're solving this problem with our customer. And our workflow is that we are going to automate the matching process and using AI algorithms and decentralized services that will actually integrate with EHRs such as Epic, Cerner, Allscripts, Athena Health, just to name a few, integrating with them and actually retrieving real-time patient trial and patient data and matching them with clinical trial criteria. So the first part of our consent, our workflow is the consent. So we actually are integrating, for example, with Epic. Epic has MyChart. So we'll be able to send out a consent broadcast to patients to be able to opt in their health wallet, to be able to opt in if they would like to opt in into clinical trials. And then once we have a consent workflow back in place with a yes, a patient decides they want to opt in, then we go into what we call our query. And we'll query EHR data, patient data, real-time data, that can be their clinical notes, their labs, their conditions, diagnosis, immunizations, allergies. We can be able to query that data and do a match based on that clinical trial criteria. Once we get a match, then a message package is sent to the patient, to their MyChart, with a direct invitation to that clinical trial. This gives a high success rate. We're really excited about implementing the solution. We filed a patent provisional on this about under a year ago. So we're going to be starting our application pretty soon. And with that is that we're really excited because we're anticipating bringing up their problem with the diversity and inclusion is at 30%, and we want to bring it up to 60% for our client. And with this workflow, we'll definitely be able to do that. So again, our implementation is we're going to be mapped and align patient data with criteria in clinical trials. The AI we'll be able to train the AI with machine learning with historic patient data as well as clinical cloud data, and be able to have that machine learning and decentralized services to be able to help train the AI. We'll also have a consent module in place to be able to interface with the health wallets. And then we'll have a funnel that we will have a dashboard for principal investigators to be able to log in, and the patients will be able to log in to that dashboard as well. And now they can be able to create engagement with the principal investigators, and those who qualify, they could be able to apply for the clinical trials and qualify, and then push out to the pharmaceutical company. We're actually recruiting right now for their phase 3 of their trial. So the benefits is for healthcare organizations as well as pharmaceutical company is, engagement. We're going to work through a consent workflow, and then also it's cost reduction. The time, oftentimes we spoke with principal investigators, and right now it's like they're spending like $20,000 per patient, and oftentimes a lot of patients are not qualified. So what we're doing is reducing the cost to qualify patients as well. And then with our patient engagement tools that we're going to be implementing is patient retention. So we'll personalize trials enhancement, for patient loyalty. So we're going to have modules for educating the patient about clinical trials in general, but also that particular trial. And then the monetization as well. Patient participation boosts funding for grants and income and research and pharma insights as well. And so that's some of the benefits that we highlight for healthcare organizations as well as pharmaceutical companies too. So we are going to scale, and so we have our scaling in Horizon. We're going to have a global reach. with multilingual support, advanced analytics for informed decisions, and geolocation matching as well within our platform. Our revenue model is a subscription fee. We will be working with healthcare organizations, pharmaceutical companies, medical device manufacturers as well. And then we have of course, our implementation fees for implementing this solution and these services for particularly pharmaceutical companies as well as medical device companies. We will have data analytics available as well, and then pharma and healthcare organization partnerships as part of our revenue model. Founders, I am Gina Malak. I'm the CEO. I'm now the CEO of the company as well as CTO. Sharon is back to becoming our Chief Operation Officer. Together, we bring over 2 decades of experience as interoperability subject matter experts. I am an engineer. I've worked on numerous healthcare organizations and medical schools implementing digital health, web services, and interfaces. And I've led numerous implementations, upgrades, as well as data conversions. So I am an interoperability engineer and subject matter expert. Sharon, she brings over 15 years experience in healthcare operations as well. And together, our dedication to healthcare services is driven by a profound commitment to enhancing clinical studies, research, and trials, and with the ultimate goal of saving lives. Thank you, and I appreciate everyone for your time. Together, we innovate.
Thank you, Gina.
You're welcome.
It's nice to see the progress that you're making. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Victor Mpunga. Victor is Zimbabwe's leading technology serial entrepreneur, having built award-winning solutions in blockchain, crypto, fintech, and e-commerce. He is the founder and CEO of FlexID Technologies and was inaugurated into the World Economic Forum's Technology Pioneers in Davos, Switzerland, the first Zimbabwean to achieve that. So, Victor, it's your party now. You're on.
Everyone. So good to have everyone make wonderful presentations. So let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of FlexID, and essentially FlexID emerged from a really personal experience when I came back to Zimbabwe, and I was essentially unable to access a wide range of services owing to the lack of appropriate credentials. So in Sub-Saharan Africa, one of the biggest challenges we have is identity. So on the continent, over 600 million people still lack an official form of ID. And what this basically means is that across the entire macroeconomic ecosystem, there is an extreme difficulty in how these individuals actually interact with broader institutions. And one of the most important being the healthcare ecosystem. Now, FlexID essentially empowers users all around the continent with the self-sovereign identity wallet, which is also conveniently available on low internet access platforms like WhatsApp, which is the most ubiquitous platform across the African continent. So an individual who uses FlexID does not necessarily need to have a high-end smartphone. They also don't need to download an individual app. They can actually interact with their wallet directly via WhatsApp or via a USSD platform. And what this essentially means is for developers and enterprises alike, they're able to access these users using a unified API. So this API essentially then allows them to handle both issuance of verifiable credentials and verifications. And this is all running atop of the Algorand blockchain. Now, one of the key things about identity, which I would like to talk about, is that it's multifaceted. So often you find in the market, what a lot of companies have done is they have developed individual wallets, either to handle finance, to handle healthcare, to handle education. But this becomes very unrealistic because as individuals, we interact with multiple institutions. So at the most basic layer, an individual is lacking that economic ID, the very first form of identity, which allows them to go to a clinic, it allows them to go to a hospital, it allows them to go to a lab, it allows them to go to an insurance company and access the services. The lack thereof of a lot of these credentials essentially makes it extremely difficult to handle all these patients. And one of the key problems is if an individual lacks an ID, even if you want to create a health record for them, it's not traceable, it's not portable, and it's really not acceptable by other third parties who might want to then see that individual. And what this essentially means is a lot of times have to undergo a lot of re-diagnosis, which is often expensive if you're coming from a country where the GDP per capita is less than 1,200 a year. So often you find it's very difficult for individuals to then have the mobility of all their identity credentials. And one of the key things that we decided to embark on is to create basically a one-person, one-account platform. So what this means is we are building an ecosystem that not only touches at healthcare, but it allows them to interact with their financial service providers. It allows them to interact with their telco providers. It allows them to interact with even their retail partners. For the most part, most individuals across the Sub-Saharan continent actually interact a lot more with these institutions, more than they would interact with healthcare providers. So with FlexID, what we decided to do was to ensure that our self-sovereign identity wallet is extremely simple, running on just a few technologies, which then make it comprehensive. So the SSI wallet itself, the Algorand blockchain, which is the layer 1 we use, and obviously the novel concept of utility of these verifiable credentials. Now, the way it works is quite simple. An individual is going to have a wallet either in the form of the WhatsApp bot USSD or an application. And essentially, they're able to connect to whichever issuing parties they want. Now, in the case of a WhatsApp wallet, basically all the issuing party needs is their phone number. And if they have their phone number, they're now able to start issuing credentials directly to this individual's wallet. And these credentials are then extremely shareable with any third party that the user grants access to. So whether it's an individual who has gone to a doctor, they've gone to a local government clinic, or they've gone to a private laboratory to get some tests done, they're essentially able to then get those credentials issued back to them to allow that greater mobility with all the verifying parties. Now, one of the key things that we pride ourselves in is really building an ecosystem. So instead of having a wallet for healthcare, a wallet for finance, a wallet for telco, one key thing we want to do is to ensure that there is mobility of credentials across even those same institutions. And this is really because of the type of clients that we've been able to onboard. So our business model is mainly B2B. So we go after, large healthcare providers, we go to healthcare funders, we go to banks, we go to telco companies, and often not, a lot of these enterprises are now hybrid. So to give a good example, one of our major clients in the banking sector, who I'll speak about just in a few slides from now, they have a massive portfolio of subsidiaries, which include insurance and healthcare companies. However, all these institutions really don't speak to each other. So we found it's much easier to build a platform that is able to move individuals, say, from a large telco database, maybe their mobile money customers, maybe their banking customers, and being able to have the credentials, have have that level of mobility across all these different verifiers. So for the individual and the user, there's really a seamless experience. They do not have to go to multiple institutions and multiple providers for them to access these services. So if they're looking at healthcare credentials, they're getting everything from their prescriptions, accessing critical drugs on online pharmacies, being able to process their insurance claim, having mobility of their credentials. So one of the key things about the region which I operate in, which is in Southern Africa, is we have a lot of mobility in terms of migrant movement between countries like Zimbabwe, Mozambique, into places like South Africa. Now, most of the time, these immigrants are crossing the border without any documentation. But once they get into the South African, healthcare ecosystem, they actually have to undergo a lot of procedures. Some of them are carrying non-communicable diseases. Some of them have been undiagnosed for years. And they're going to a different country with a different healthcare system, and they want to be able to get those services. So with FlexID, one of the key things we want to do is to ensure that whether an individual is a legal or even an illegal migrant, when it comes to healthcare, this is a critical area of life. So they need to be able to carry those credentials with them to some degree. So this also includes the healthcare professionals. I think this is true for places like Kenya, Nigeria. We now have a lot of healthcare providers in terms of nurses and doctors moving to places like Europe, going to places like the UK. And again, all this talent and all their credentials, there's great need to be able to actually verify when they're actually moving abroad to ensure that the reputability of the sector remains intact. Now, again, looking at the one SSID network we are building, one thing we're ensuring is that we are building layer by layer. So the very first implementation of FlexID we ever did was actually in the healthcare space. And from there, we then moved to start integrating the world of finance, to start integrating retail and e-commerce, to start integrating educational and other professional credential issuers. Again, this is because we don't want most users to experience a problem where they have 5 to 6 different applications, all handling really the same task of being able to keep credentials. So our API is very flexible, very agile, and we have a no-code platform that actually allows individuals to integrate with FlexID even with limited technical capacity. Again, this is based on the geographic area that we're working with, noting that even some of the B2B clients we're approaching really didn't adequately have the engineering talent to be able to handle complex integrations. So we decided to make it far much easier. And this has resulted in multiple entities being able to integrate simultaneously with FlexID, which is pretty good for the user because they then have a very seamless experience. Now, this is what I really wanted to talk about today, which was one of our largest implementations, which was in the pilot. It was actually a live implementation with several healthcare providers here. One of them called Ubuntu Clinics, the other one called Correlate Health. And very first implementation, we're able to onboard over 50,000 patients onto the platform using the SSID tool. And what we really were focusing on was a very simple problem. So our client was building clinics in remote areas. They were capacitating government-owned clinics in places outside of most urban jurisdictions. And the biggest challenge is the records were being kept in paper format, and a lot of the health-seeking behavior in these regions is such that when an individual feels unwell, they will tend to go to a pharmacy first, for them to get painkillers until they would get into a critical state. Only then would they decide to then go to see a doctor or to go to one of these clinics. The biggest issue just being finance and being costs. So our client came in to fix this problem and capacitate a lot of these institutions to make sure there is low-cost healthcare provision. And what this resulted in was, one of the largest implementations of digital ID in Sub-Saharan Africa in the healthcare space. So all the healthcare professionals who were part of this project were empowered with an Android application, which essentially allowed them to carry onboarding as they would go. So, they would actually go to a village, they would actually go to a household, they would go to a compound, a commune, and onboard entire families without needing, any additional tools. Now, once this was done, all the clinics that were in the area and that were part of this network also had a platform to start managing patients in their respective geozones. And all the patient really required was just a mobile phone number. So we really didn't care even if they didn't have a smartphone. All we needed was a phone number for them to then be able to receive these particular credentials. And what this meant was now in the network of Ubuntu that includes pharmacies and labs in the towns and in the cities, a person could get on a bus, they could travel without any single piece of paper. They would go to a Lancet laboratory and be able to actually share their credentials such that they do have mobility. People in rural areas in Africa are the most disenfranchised when it comes to a lack of data visibility, partly due to the long distances they have to travel and the format that the data was being kept. It simply wasn't being done in a manner which was convenient for that mobility. The other key thing that we then noted and then decided to build a solution to scale up on was just how informal the entire market is. So Zimbabwe is one of the largest informal countries in the world. And for those that don't know what this really means, is most individuals here who are of the working age basically are unemployed and they're self-employed. They are selling their own goods on the side of the road. They're subsistence farmers. They basically don't exist in the formal economy. And this presents a problem, again, to healthcare providers that want to start creating different packages and subscription services for this group of people. So this lady over here, who we actually interviewed, she makes money in two ways. Either she gets cash, which is the predominant form of transaction she does. But she also receives a lot of payments in mobile money, in a mobile money platform here we call EcoCash. In Kenya, you'd have something like M-Pesa, and in different countries, there are different variations of it. Now, what happens is all the transactions she was doing on her mobile money platform, they were not visible except only to the telco company which runs this platform. And this meant that if she wanted to get medical aid from one of the providers here, not only were they reluctant to provide her because of their age and because of their economic status, she found the process, entirely frustrating, from the paperwork all the way to the documentation she was required to have. So what we decided to do with FlexID, again, building on this broader SSID philosophy, was to ensure that we integrate with that mobile money platform too. So now the transactions that she has are also going into her wallet as a form of proof of income. So on top of the healthcare credentials, on top of the eKYC credentials, she now has financial credentials to complement what she wants. And what this means is third parties and innovators and different companies can now start to offer services from these different data points without having to integrate with all these different institutions, which is one of the beauty of self-sovereign ID. So that one API allows you to have access to her KYC information. It allows you to now have access to her healthcare information, and it also allows you to have access to her income. And you don't need to handle any other integrations. You don't even need to talk to the mobile money company because we handled that integration on behalf of our third parties. And one of the most interesting things we've now done is to also bring out FlexPay and integrate it directly into the SSID wallet. So this allows an individual to now start transacting. So beyond just having a wallet that keeps your credentials and you only share them once in a while, you can now have everyday utility and use cases. And again, start building up this base of credentials, these stacks of credentials related to your income. So whether it's an individual who wants to accept payment in the Zimbabwean dollar, So the previous example of the lady I showed you, she can now accept payment directly via the same wallet, which has her healthcare credentials. And this is because we've integrated directly with existing providers. So if she wants to accept fiat, that is possible. If she wants to accept USDC, or if she wants to accept algos or any other cryptocurrency or digital currency, or even local CBDCs, she'll be able to do that without really having to change, any platform. So again, allowing for that seamless experience across the region. Now, in terms of how we've been operating, so we now have over 300,000 active users spread around the initial countries we started: Zimbabwe, South Africa. We're now present in Rwanda as well. We've also implemented FlexID as far away as Sri Lanka with the National Savings Bank. And we've worked with a host of different clients from across different regions. Again, we're B2B, and we basically have a subscription model that allows companies to pay. And in terms of our leadership team, so my co-founder and I, we both met in the US before deciding to come back to Zimbabwe to work on these kind of problems. And our chief operating officer, who's actually based out in Singapore and in Malaysia, where we've actually incorporated FlexID as well. And again, we're very young guys, so we don't have a combination of 100 years of experience like other companies. But what we do have is a very agile ability to execute and execute quite quickly. We believe that as long as the outcome is important, then users have the best advantage. So yeah, we were inaugurated into the World Economic Forum's Tech Pioneers as the first company from Zimbabwe. And again, a good note based on some of the work that we were doing last year. We raised our pre-seed round, and we're currently in the process of raising our seed round. So we're currently raising a seed round of $2 million, and we have already gotten commitment from our previous investors and new investors who are also interested in ensuring that we bring this of material about some of the work we do, and we really believe in the practicality of it all. And yeah, thanks a lot for this opportunity. I hope you guys do get in touch in regards to FlexID. We're very open to partnerships. We're very open to working with other tech companies and complementing different services. And now looking at AI, any company or any individuals in the audience that feel that they could complement something, feel free to contact me or any of my team members, and we should be able to make healthcare much more accessible across the African continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. You have not only identified, you've addressed a problem that is international in scope. Even a country as allegedly as advanced as the United States, we have the issues of patient identification as well. And it's a real, it's a difficult problem to solve. And I think you're on your way to making that happen in your neck of the woods, as they say. So now our last speaker is going to be Muthan Kamal, who's the head data analytics of In22 Labs. He's had over 15 years of invaluable consulting experience, extensive experience working closely with high-ranking government officials, offering business intelligence solutions that have been instrumental in shaping real-time challenges in the public and healthcare domain. And so, Muthan, it is up to you. Go ahead. Whoa, what happened?
Thank you very much, Jonathan, for this introduction. Okay, so here I am Muthan Kamal, head of data analytics at In22 Labs, and before diving deep into the healthcare solutions which our company offers, probably I'll give a quick introduction about my company's background and the work they have done in the healthcare industry, and then I'll quickly walk you through two use cases of our solution implementation, so that will help you gauge the importance of the solutions in the healthcare industry. Okay, so Yes, our company Intelligent Labs was founded 10 years ago as a major player. We started as a major player in offering e-governance solutions to government departments in India. And 2 years down the line, that is exactly 8 years ago, we started offering business intelligence solutions. Business intelligence solutions to government departments based on their requirement, and that is when we actually got hold of the importance of business intelligence and data analytics in government sector. Slowly, we started targeting the private industry, and we in the upcoming slides, I'll walk you through the different industries we target. So in our 10 plus years of experience, we have served some 40 plus government industry, government organizations, and typically we are experts in providing end-to-end data analytics solutions for our clients. By end-to-end analytics, I mean by we'll be taking care of this data from the genesis till the end. Visualization, and also how do we generate deep insights based on the data. So as you can see, our impulsive list of clientele includes the World Bank. We have worked with the World Bank for in Africa, in India. We have worked with the Asian Development Bank. We have worked with close to, as you can see, multiple departments in the government of Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and the central government. So we have quite a really good idea about what it takes to deal with a million data sets. So over this 10 plus years, we have dealt, as I said, we have dealt with some close to 10. In terms of records, we have dealt with some 150 million plus records across all these projects. And we have offered some close to around 25 plus core BA solutions to the governments. So we started with offering our data analytics solutions to government, and slowly we expanded to other private industries like healthcare, telecom, banking, automobile, manufacturing, logistics, energy, and real estate. So offering the solutions for healthcare has been one of the major work of Intelligent Labs, because during COVID in the 2020 till 2022, the 3 years, we have offered our healthcare data analytics solutions to 5 government departments in India, and the amount of productivity increase, amount of data we dealt with, and the quick decisions they could make purely because we offered some really good solutions or something we could take pride on. Okay, so any BA solutions, we have a generalist approach on how do we offer these solutions. First, we'll do a system evaluations of the department or the private company. Most of the companies we have dealt with and the government departments knows about the importance of digitalization, as in they know what it is like to build a process which is powered by systems and all. They are quite aware of the power of digitalization, but the main thing what they lack is that they are unaware of the amount of insights they can derive from the petabytes of data they have. So that is something they know, that the insights they need to derive from the data needs to be valuable, but they don't know what to derive. So we go study the system, study the data, we come up with an integration report, and we kind of come up with API integration reports and all. We quickly showcase them a proof of concept, and based on the proof of concept, we quickly expand it into a full-blown solutions, and then we deploy it. Okay, so this is where the real thing starts. So in the upcoming slides, I'll walk you through a couple of major implementations from our sides for healthcare industry, and you would be able to see how beneficial it was to the end client. So one of the major solutions we provided is the predictive maintenance of medical equipments. So the number of hospitals in USA is around 5,000, above 4,500, and the industry size, the market size of medical equipment maintenance is around $50 billion as of now, and it is growing at the rate of 10.6% every year. So in next 5 years, in the year 2028, we'll be looking at an industry of $80 billion just for this medical equipment maintenance in US. So what exactly is the problem the hospitals or the health institutions facing? See, the point is that most close to 70-80% of the hospitals in USA are they rely on routine schedule-based maintenance of this medical equipment. So the medical equipments are quite costly in USA. You'll be able to see one of the top 10 medical equipments that is being used in public hospitals in US, and the average cost of it. So you could see the top 6 of them cost around $2 million. So the point is that all these the hospitals, when they show really great interest in buying medical equipments and equipping their hospitals, but when it comes to maintenance, they do that routine scheduled maintenance, like MRI scans are maintained once in every 6 months. So that is kind of routine scheduled maintenance. They don't have insights and insights to track the necessity of equipment maintenance for these machines. So that is one of the major problems faced with hospitals. So how do we offer solution? How good have we understood the data involved in this medical equipments? So this slide clearly shows about what's the solutions we have built. What is the predictive analytics solutions intensive labs have built in order to solve this medical equipment maintenance problem faced with hospitals. The thing is that how do we solve is that all these medical equipments have IoT sensors inbuilt in them. So we have built our data analytics solutions on Microsoft Azure Synapse stack. So we will be able to use all the components of the Synapse Analytics Studio. So what we do is that we capture this IoT sensor data from these machines. By IoT sensor data, we will be capturing the temperature, we will be capturing any abnormal vibrations. So all this will be captured by the IoT sensors, and it will be pushed to our cloud-based solution of IoT, Azure IoT Hub, which is a component in Synapse Analytics stack. So this IoT Hub will actually tap on this data from IoT sensors, and it will feed those data into Azure Synapse Analytics, and then it will start processing those IoT sensor data into Azure Spark tools. So the thing is that these IoT sensors in these medical equipments are monitored and tracked on a secondary basis, and they'll be the data which we collect from these sensors are really vast. So the thing is that based on the historical data of these medical equipments, we will be able to build a ML model for the specific equipment. So we will be able to quickly identify any specific equipment's data, and we'll be able to arrive at a pattern of operation of that machine. So the best part is that once we arrive at the pattern, we have built this ML model for a specific machine. We will be able to push those data into Power BI, and will be able to any person who has access to this login credentials will be able to visualize the health of medical equipments in a hospital in a single dashboard. So he'll be able to see MRI scanners, how is it working, has there been any anomaly in that IoT sensor and all. So he will be able to see how not only how the device is functioning, but also he'll be able to, our ML model will be able to accurately predict the faultness in that machine. So for a couple of projects, the ML model which we implemented had an accuracy of 98%. So the thing that's really high when it comes to identifying, predicting the faults that's happening in the medical equipments. So which means that out of 100 cases, our predictive analysis model correctly gave the solutions, correctly triggered the maintenance equipment alerts for 98 times. That's a really good record. So this is one of the major solutions which we provide, which is predictive analytics solutions for medical equipments. The number 2 solution is the healthcare supply chain optimization. So this is a really interesting solution which Intelligent Labs is offering. So a quick background about this industry size. So as of now, this healthcare supply chain optimization industry is healthcare supply chain industry is $3.26 billion in US, and it is growing at 12% every year. So in another 6 years, it will almost double. It comes to around $6.63 billion. So that's the industry size in US. So what's the problem? What's the problem faced? What's the problem faced in this hospital supply chain? So one of the major problems faced by these hospitals is that they have this, every hospital has this internal ERP systems which dispatches drugs, which keeps a track of drugs that enters the hospitals, and then that is dispensed to the patients and all. They have all the systems are digitalized. They have a good knowledge on this consumption of drugs, but they don't. The point is that they don't have a predictive or forecasting measure to identify the to forecast the supply and demand of the drug, and that forecast should lead to automated ordering of drugs from the pharmacies or the pharmaceutical companies. That is a system which the hospitals don't have. They only have data on the consumption of medicine, the inventory of medicine that's in the hospital, and the dispensation of medicines to the patients. But there is a completely different workflow layer outside that. So once the medicine is dispensed to the patient, then the ERP system should be able to quickly predict and forecast the consumption of medicine, say for the next 1 month or so, and the system should be able to place an automated order. So the automated order, that is something which the hospitals don't have right now. So the solutions what we provide is that was something very similar to that, wherein our analytic solutions will tap into this hospital data, drug consumption data, and we will be processing. We will be keeping a track of the data, drug data, how quickly it is consumed, and what age of patients it is consumed more and all. So we will be able to identify the patterns in the drug consumption among these patients, and based on the patterns, we will be able to quickly build a complete model of drug consumption in that specific region. By region, I can say talking about a county or a district or a state. So based on these consumption of drugs, I would be able to identify what are the what will be the consumption of a drug 6 months down the line. So that's purely because I have a good amount of data. I have a good amount of data about the consumption, and on top of the data, my data analytic solutions, which is powered by AI, will work on every aspects of the data. It will come up with will identify the pattern of consumption for the data, and it will be able to feed that insights back into the hospital ERP system, which in turn will place an order again back to the pharmaceutical company. So this is an analytic solution which we also built on this Microsoft Azure solution stack. So this has been some this is called intelligent inventory or intelligent warehousing. So this is a solution which we offered to a couple of solutions in the US, and they were really happy with this kind of ML and AI based solution for drug inventory. So I'll quickly show you in just a couple of minutes a live scenario. Team, can you see my dashboard right now?
Your PPT is visible.
Oh, it's my PPT is visible. Okay. How about now?
Dashboard, yes.
Yes, I'll quickly walk you through the dashboard. This is a real-time scenario. So for one of the government departments in India, we happen to identify the drug consumption pattern of the entire state. So I'll take you to the direct impact of this AI-powered solution. So before implementing this AI-powered dashboards, the consumption of the state was just $50 million, in the sense that only $50 million of drugs were procured and distributed to the hospitals. But when we studied the system, studied the data, we built an analytics model on top of the data. Only then the government came to know that the drug consumption, the drug demand in that state was actually 5 times. So the drug demand in the state was $250 million, but what they were actually procuring was $50 million. So this was something really useful for them. So how did we actually arrive at? So we kind of took the data, we studied it. We studied close to some 32 warehouses in that state, which have been supplying close to around 3,000 medicines for the entire state. So based on the entire state's drug consumption, one really good insight we were able to arrive at is that this entire state is demarcated and split into 38 districts. For each and every district, we could actually identify the prevalent disease in that district purely based on the consumption of that drug. So we have some 12 years of drug consumption data. Based on that, we could actually identify, our system was accurate in identifying what part of the month, what part of the year, say for example, June month in a district of say X, in a district X, in the month of June, our system would typically predict this district will be facing with this disease in the month of June, and for the disease Y that the district is facing, the district should order and stock up medicine Z. So the point is that our dashboards were really insightful, and it could actually tell at least 2 months in beforehand on what was the disease that district or that state is going to face in the next 2 months. That was the amount of data we had. So we could actually see the we could actually see the heat map of consumption of drugs in that state. We could see this here. We could see the heat map in terms of consumption of drugs, in terms of value of drugs consumed. And the best part is that, as I was saying, we could actually forecast. We could actually forecast the consumption of drugs in that state. So we, as you can see in this. Yeah, these continuous lines are actual drug. These continuous lines are actual drug consumption, and these dotted lines are the forecasted drug consumption. So we built around some close to 20 dashboards, and that is how we actually served this client. So I'm coming at the end of this presentation. So in the next phase, we are building these dashboards with dashboards and analytics solutions. We are considerable amount of research is being undergone to power it with AI. So the point is that we are moving on to the field of AI, wherein our data solutions in the next upcoming 2 to 3 months will be completely powered by AI, which means that this AI model can be quickly replicated to any industries, be it healthcare, be it telecom, be it manufacturing, be it automobile. So wherever we have access to the data and wherever we have our AI system, AI engine built, our AI engine will just go feed on the data, will quickly arrive at this insights. It will quickly trigger the necessary alerts wherever needed. It will trigger out email alerts. It will trigger out alarm alerts and all. And then our AI engine will be feeding in the data. It will be analyzing the data. It will be visualizing all the data, and it will be serving any industry of our choice. That's it, Jonathan, from my side. Yes, I am open to questions.
Thank you very much. Where am I? I gotta start the video. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Well, that concludes our program today. I'd like to take a couple of moments just to recap what we've learned and takeaways. Web3 is redefining healthcare for enabling patient-centric, decentralized, innovative solutions. We showcase companies and visionaries who are pioneering transformative technologies to shape the future of healthcare. We've seen how blockchain, AI, and decentralized finance are empowering healthcare in unprecedented ways, and the integration of Web3 principles in breaking down traditional healthcare barriers. This has been a most informative hour and a half. I want to thank everybody for participating, both our speakers, our speakers and our participants, and particularly want to thank Krista McFarland, the Patientory Association, who made the showcase possible, and popular for that matter. We are grateful for your commitment to advancing healthcare and industry through Web3 technologies, and we look forward to seeing everyone at our next program in the next couple of months. So with that, thank you very much for joining us, and see you again soon.